clairaudience and how to hear into the next world. Yesterday, we talked about clairvoyance, seeing energies. Today, we're talking about clairaudience, actually hearing an energy, hearing the voice of your spirit guides, your ancestors, or even people that have crossed over. Here's some three simple tips that you can begin to practice to develop your clairaudient sort of muscle, if you will. The first one comes from internal guidance. So, in order to hear something external, we first need to become very, very comfortable with hearing what is going on internally. How often do you listen to your intuition? How often do you listen to your insight, your internal wisdom, and follow it? The more comfortable you become with being authentic to the voice that is guiding you, the more open you are to receive energies that are uplifting and guiding you towards harmonious destinations. Our first step, though, is by honestly being honest with ourselves and questioning if we truly do listen to ourselves. I know for me personally, if I go down a wrong path, I'm always like, why didn't I listen to the warning signs beforehand? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Listening to those warning signs kind of primes you to begin opening to hearing something externally uplifting. The second one is recollection. This deals with literally recalling a song or a sound and repeating it within your consciousness. By conjuring this as a sort, it's opening up our ability to energetically shift us into an energetic listening state rather than a physical listening state. The energy of creating that sound and trying to remember, let's say, what your favorite song sounds like, takes more energy than audibly hearing it. So by focusing in on recreating a sound, it primes us to become more aware when we hear sounds that we aren't as familiar with. Say I've listened to my favorite song 100 times and I've learned those lyrics and I know all of the instrumentals. It's really primed me to listen. This also deals with active listening when people are talking to you. Instead of thinking of what you're going to say as a response to them talking, truly practice listening. So there are two easy ways to practice that. One's a way that I mentioned, if recalling the song, recalling the sound of a door closing, a window opening and repeating it, or just honestly actively listening to people when they talk really helps us to tune and strengthen our listening muscle. The third and last one is dealing with vocalization. So in the previous step, we talked about listening to that insight. What's it like actually speaking it? Why is it important to talk out loud? Well, you have a certain energy when you communicate with yourself. And it may feel weird, but start narrating your activities. I'm going to do this. We're going to do that. I feel this way. It feels sometimes weird talking to yourself, but I try to do it as much as possible. If I'm doing the dishes, I'll say something like, all right, let's go do the dishes. Or if I'm taking out the laundry, I'm like, oh, it's time to take out laundry. Simple and small things like that. You don't have to narrate an entire book to yourself, but when you have a thought that feels like it comes from you, speak it out loud so that you become familiar with the sound of your voice. Now, this is very, very important because oftentimes for a clairaudience, it comes in as a thought rather than a sound. It's a frequent misconception. To train this energy and muscle, oftentimes we will hear things within our mind rather than hear things audibly. So if you're able to hear something within your mind, like it's time to get lunch, and if you narrate it, it's time to get lunch, when you hear something different, like go eat, and you say out loud, go eat, it feels different. It's like, was that from my spirit guides? Were my ancestors looking out for me? How we verbalize that voice inside of our head changes based off the energy that's influencing us to do the activity. So if we're going down, my favorite example is going down an alleyway and our intuition tells us, hey, let's not go down there. You might say something out loud of, I don't think it's safe down there, or I don't want to go down that alley. However, when the spirit guide communicates, they'll direct us in a different way. Their verbiage, how they communicate, is different. So they may not say, don't go down that alley. They may instead say, let's walk down this other path or whatever have you. And if you say that out loud, the energy of it feels different. So speaking out loud to yourself can often almost channel the voice and the energy of a different entity without us even knowing. Clairaudience is also a misconception because it's happening literally all the time. I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but if you think of people with mental illnesses, a lot of times they're vocalizing things because they're seeing into the different realm and hearing into the different realm. We don't want to get unstable in our practice to get to that polarity. But by narrating occasionally, it helps us hear the difference of the different vocal quality of our thoughts versus the thoughts of another. So, those are the top three that I have for you. First, listen to yourself, listen to your intuition. Second, recall sounds and try to replay them. And third, vocalize things, because as you're able to vocalize your own voice, you'll be able to tell the difference when a different voice is speaking through you. Thank you for listening and have a beautiful day with love.